So, you know, that question that men like to ask when it comes to sex is if I'm doing it right? I would have to say, if you're asking that question, it's a no. Yeah, if you got to ask that question, especially if you ask it during sex, it's no, you're not doing it right. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And we decided to hit the record button because we were chatting about this in our meeting today and just talking about this idea of presence, what it means as a man to be present in a sexual situation and just kind of with myself in general, with another human being in general. And then we're also talking about this idea of stories like needing, there's this training that we're putting on, the Tantra of the Sacred Warrior, and how oftentimes people come into this work wanting to like figure out why they're doing what they're doing, kind of like have an intellectual understanding of what's going on for them. And you have held this really firm pull that no, you don't need to know what's going on with you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the couple of things, the am I doing it right, when it comes to sex, typically means that you are not being present with what's going on. You're thinking about the expectations of what should be happening, and is it happening, and is she doing that, and am I doing this, and is it working? If all that's happening, that's a no. That means you're not present. And so presence is different than focus. That's the whole thing that we work and talk and teach on with men. And so how would you have a different experience than what the expectation is? It would be really about what is happening now, even if
Yeah, yeah,
that's like I'm not turned on.
yeah. And that's the whole piece. And that's the whole piece about this training is that like entering into this space that we're creating here is and the practices that we'll be delivering and the path that we're going to walk these men through is like it's a practice space for presence basically. And
Right.
so entering into this space trying to figure out what's going on, how do I need to do this, what are we going to be doing, why am I doing things the way that I am, when the practice is actually learning to recognize, okay, well, has that mode of thinking gotten me the outcomes that I have wanted in the past?
Right.
Has that mode of thinking, trying to figure it out in my sex, gotten me what I wanted? The
Right.
answer is probably no. And
Well,
what
if
we're
it was
doing
just
is,
about getting off, then probably yes. But
yeah,
typically, people want actually, if that's your main goal. So here's the deal: if your main goal of sex is to have an orgasm and you have one, you're doing it right. That's the bottom line. So if
and our course probably isn't for you also. So
yeah, and our course, well, it could be because you could have way better orgasms than you're having. Typically, a man's ejaculation. Well, first of all, if you don't know the difference between the fact you can orgasm or ejaculate or do both together, a lot of men don't realize orgasm and ejaculation is not the same thing. And so, if you wanted to enhance your ejaculation, your ejaculation is always just going to be, it's the orgasm that's the pleasure part. And if you wanted that to last for like a pig, 30 minutes, pigs have 30-minute orgasms at a time. So, if you wanted to at least have the same experience as your average pig was having, then this course definitely could be for you.
yeah,
Now, when it comes to getting involved in the course and thinking that your story, how you got to be here, you're a man who doesn't experience enough pleasure. You're a man who needs more sex. You're a man who has had sexual trauma. You're a man who's the sex god and you just want to be uber sex god. Whatever your past story experience is, certainly got you where you are now. It's your story, it's part of your past. But it's not necessary for this course. It literally anywhere on any spectrum that you could be, you could drop into this course and change whatever's going on for the better. Your quality of life, your quality of sex, your quality of being in the world would improve no matter what it is you know. So just know that story. And we don't ask for stories that can really make people go, wait a minute, but you need to know about me and what I'm going through and what's happened to me. And I'm like, that's sharing's important. It is, but it doesn't change that we take where you are right now and then the practices that we teach basically teach you how to go to where you want to be no matter where you are right now. That's
yeah.
beauty of them.
And I think about it in terms of a bottom up or a top down approach. And there's a top down approach is kind of the traditional Western talk therapy. I'm just going to go in and tell my story. But again, this question of like, is that actually giving me the outcome that I want? I've talked to so many people that I've done sessions with who are like, this single session was more powerful than whatever, like 2 years
Right.
of therapy,
Right.
because we're like, and I was, we were back and forthing a little bit before I hit the record button, because is sharing my story, is knowing my story, can that be important for me? Yes. Like there can be incredible power in revealing and sharing myself to other people
Absolutely.
and making contact with my truth. But the difference is that like I'm not up here just cycling over and over again about it. I'm actually getting present, like this is the quality of presence, getting present to the feelings and the emotions and the inner experience that come up as I'm like touching those parts of myself, and I'm allowing myself to have a whole body experience of metabolizing that energy so that it gets released, and I just end up a little more free on the other side. And that's my personal experience, and that's a lot of the work that I do with men. And that's an experience of presence. I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh, where do I go next with this? I'm dropping in and I'm trusting my body fully. And that's the experience that we're looking to help men create more of in their sex also, because it's an extraordinary, blissful, deep, powerful, far more expansive experience than sitting up here trying to figure out what what's next or what to do in this situation.
Well, and I also point out that energy follows breath and sound. So maybe one of the first things people need to do would be to speak their story, to speak of things that they hold back, right? That is one thing. But if speaking the story itself changed anything, just about everybody would be changed. So I tend to work in kind of common sense modalities, right? And if revealing your story changed everything, I would be teaching how to reveal your story. Revealing your story can give you relief because it can open that stop. If you've not been ever saying what's going on, you have a block. Opening that block feels really, you have enormous relief. But does it change your neural pathways? Does it change your chemistry towards where you want to go? No. It simply allows you to tell your story, to speak your truth, to reveal something you may have been scared to reveal before. And that is a great step. Is it a needed step? Do you actually even need to know what's wrong to heal and go where you want to go? No.
And I think that's the place where a lot of people would get hung up. And again,
Yeah.
this analogy between learning to trust the healing process versus learning to trust the sexual process, let's call it, that they're both
Right.
so interlinked.
Well, even like let's take it out of sex and energy and anything that people could say, "Oh, that's a little woo woo" or whatever, and let's just look at tennis. So you want to learn how to play tennis. You don't have to know how to play tennis to learn how to play tennis. You do. I does learning how to play tennis make you a great tennis player? No. There are other pieces involved to get to championship high performance levels.
The embodiment piece and the learning to
Right.
get out of your
Yeah,
mind.
it's not your head. If I could teach you the theory of how to play tennis, you would be like, "Oh, now I'm a champion tennis player." Woo! And it's like, not so much. We have body intelligence all the way through our entire body and our brain, and we need to be firing on all of these body intelligences. If you're just making your decisions from your crotch, those are just crotch decisions. You're missing out on a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're only making decisions from logic in your head, you're missing out on a whole bunch of other stuff. We're complete humans, and we're only using tiny percentages and pieces of our humanity and our potential.
Yeah. So I love the way you're saying it. That for me, that really grounds it, because we're talking about making decisions from maybe your cock, from your head, from your story. And what we're offering is that there's a way to allow the fuller intelligence of your whole body to be online. And that requires it can be scary. It can be confronting.
It is, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you are really grounded. Your neural pathways, your nervous system is grounded in keeping you safe. And what you think is keeping you safe is old programs you had between the ages of 0 and 6. those programs are running 97% of the decisions you're making that you're not even aware that you're making because you think you're in free will and you're not. And they're keeping you in this finite loop of safety. And so when you come to take a class from anything that I do, like I take your box and you think your lid is open, but fuck open the lid, I just blow the box up. And now you're standing there going, holy crap, what do I do? But I've got those solutions. These practices that we teach are the solutions to creating new neural pathways and allowing you to your potential to expand enormously in your body without ever having to know what happened to you. You never have to go back and find out what happened. Why am I like this? Number one thing, I call it mental masturbation. Why? If knowing the why changed everything, we'd all be fine. We got Google, babe. There would be nobody that was struggling. If knowing the why worked, I would be out of business. So I'm just saying there's something deeper than that.
Yeah. So we just wanted to jump on and hit record for a moment because this is a theme that, especially in your work, Tanya, comes up a lot with men, and we wanted to try to create a little more space around it for any man who's listening who does want more, just like freedom in his way of being and in his way of in his sexuality and his sexual expression. So
Yeah, peak performance, peak arousal, freedom, whew, relief, all of that stuff.
yeah. All right. So anything else we want to say before I hit the stop button here?
No, just like, wow, you just want to experience it. That's all I got to say.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm excited to be diving in and creating this container with you. And any guy who is watching would love to hear any thoughts, comments, questions that come up for you in the comments beneath. Let us know.